please go to bed angry. Watch me now. That old advice that says never go to bed angry can absolutely demolish your connection. In this video, I'm going to give you 2 principles and 1 practice that you can use instead of destroying your connection when one or both of you is simply too exhausted to do the essential steps of repairing your connection during or after a conflict. And I'm also going to reveal the most important thing that you need to know to succeed at relationships. Let's dive in with principle number 1. You cannot relate if you cannot regulate. You cannot relate if you cannot regulate. In other words, you cannot relate to someone else if you're not able to regulate your emotions. Now, regulating is not feeling nothing, and it is not feeling peaceful all the time. Here's what else regulating isn't. Regulating does not mean repressing your feelings. You can be frustrated or sad or overwhelmed and still be regulating. To relate, you need access to your emotions, which requires regulation. When we're unable to regulate our emotions, in other words, when we are dysregulated, our nervous system is driving the bus, not our cognitive mind, not the parts of our brain here that are capable of reflectiveness, accountability, compassion, understanding somebody else's perspective, etc. And we need those to repair a connection. When our nervous system is driving the bus in a conflict and we keep trying to communicate our way back to connection, it nearly always makes things worse, and you know this. You know that I'm telling you the truth because you have been there. You've tried communicating your way back to connection and it doesn't work, things get worse. Principle number 2, when we are unable to regulate our emotions, when we're dysregulated, our body is effectively screaming, protect, not connect. Bottom line, you cannot simultaneously connect and protect. In other words, when your nervous system is in threat response mode, you're going to get nowhere repairing a conflict. Y'all, here's why. When we are emotionally dysregulated, we can become very myopic. That is, we can only see ourselves. We can't really see beyond ourselves to see the other person or their perspective. It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to empathize with their experience, reflect on our part, and how we contribute to the conflict. When we're flooded with emotions and unable to regulate our feelings in a conflict, which is a very human experience, it sends a message from the body to the brain saying, I am under threat. Now, I'm not talking about a threat to your physical safety. But you have to understand, our human nervous system is at once extremely sophisticated and yet at the same time pretty uncomplicated. Effectively, your nervous system only has 2 settings: threat, no threat, unsafe or safe. So why does this matter to you in relationship, and particularly in conflict, if you want to repair? To succeed at relationships, you have to understand that your nervous system conflates and confuses high levels of emotional distress, the distress you feel when you're disconnected from a loved one, with a survival threat. You have to remember, your nervous system didn't just develop overnight or over the course of this relationship or even since you were born. The fear of losing connection, which is one we all experience in conflict, whether your cognitive mind recognizes that or not, the threat of losing connection registers as a survival threat to the primitive brain. And this is for all the pennies. Listen now, y'all. When we are dysregulated and unable to regulate our emotions, it's the primitive brain that takes over. This is because our early human ancestors' survival was impossible. Out in the elements with predators all by themselves, nobody could survive alone. So conflict equals a threat to connection, and that becomes a threat to survival. Now, we've covered the 2 principles, and we've covered the one thing you have to know to succeed in relationship. So here is the practice, and I know those of you who have held on for this, or you already have a gold star from me. So step 1 of the practice, hit the pause button. Make sure you have an agreement before conflict ever arises that if either one of you hits the pause button, you will both respect it. Now, in private relationship coaching, I recommend to my clients that they find almost like a safe word that they can say, and if one person calls it, everybody stops. Everybody hits the pause button. We stop trying to repair. We stop trying to communicate our way back to connection. I further recommend that you pick a word or phrase that's a little bit lighthearted or random. Something like platypus or watermelon or grasshopper. Something that's not going to add any fuel to the fire. Step 2. Take time apart, at minimum 20 minutes, and do something specifically, not scrolling, but something that will help you change your state. Take a shower, listen to music, move your body. Breath work and other somatic practices can be fantastic to support and soothe your nervous system as well. So that once you're able to regulate your emotions again, you come to step 3. I would 100% rather that you go to bed angry than for one or both of you to be so dysregulated in an argument that you're up all night and things are just getting worse. So after you've paused, you've taken that 20 minutes to soothe your nervous system alone, you've gone to your corners and done that, you can come back together. But do not start the conflict up again. No, 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 no. For at least half an hour, sit and watch a TV show together. Something lighthearted, something fluffy, not overstimulating, and certainly not emotionally intense, having to do with relationship breakdown. The act of sharing that time together in safety will remind your nervous system that you're safe with one another, that you can share space, and have it not feel hard or stressful to your nervous system. If it's late at night, then you're going to go get some sleep. After you make an agreement about when, what day, and what time, you're going to circle back to try and resolve this conflict. Now, step 4. In some ways, this is the most important step of the practice I'm advocating to you here. Before you use your skills of repair to repair your connection, take some time apart to do some reflection about what you most deeply need, so that you don't end up just having the same conversation again that led to the conflict and the rupture and the emotional dysregulation to begin with. You cannot resolve a problem from the same level of awareness that the problem was created. Some of the smartest people have said that and quoted that saying. In other words, before you come back together to repair and to resolve the conflict, you have to bring something new, something different, some insight or awareness that you couldn't access last time you tried to talk about this subject. Meditation is helpful with this. Journaling is helpful with this. Talking it out with a great coach or therapist can be extremely helpful with this. So there it is. Listen, y'all. This was a long video. If you stuck with me, I want to high five you because you've done more just watching this video through to the end to help your relationship than so many other things you could have done. Now, I would love to have a conversation with you in the comments about strategies and principles and practices that you use to deal with conflict so that you don't default when you're exhausted and depleted and feeling hopeless to just going round and around in circles. How do you reconnect? And on your way down to make a comment, please hit that like button so you can get more quality content like this and less crappy cliche advice like never go to bed angry. Take care now, y'all.